So tell us about Worklyfe, and I think you've kind of been working on your product market fit and have some, maybe if you can talk about any of the customer examples or kind of early customers.
Yeah, for sure. I can get on my soapbox about Worklyfe, so I'll have to think how I can, succinctly kind of tell you about it without getting too passionate about it. But really for me, it's a happiness movement for me. I just felt like the number one problem in the world was unhappiness. Like we've never had higher levels of depression and addiction and divisiveness. You're on LinkedIn, you see it, like this constant stream of negativity. Then we had the Great Resignation. Now we have mass layoffs. It's like employees are like going like this. There's this, I call it an eroding, relationship. It's just deteriorating at a massive rate. I've got friends that are coming to me saying, my job sucks the life out of me. I make a lot of money, but I'm so unhappy. Like, what should I do? And
so how does Worklyfe help them?
Yeah. So how Worklyfe helps them is we surface what matters to them. So we actually go to people and say, hey, let's figure out your personal happiness equation. We're going to help you. Our software is going to help you surface your purpose and your why, and then create goals that are going to help you actually be happier. So we're going to actually help you set aside sacred money into what we call your work-life balance. It's an actual savings account we create for every individual. We give free accounts for people, and then when companies want to link up to your public work-life goals, the things that you want everyone to know about, they pay us $5 per employee per month to link up. And now your sales manager and your CEO, they know exactly what you're working towards in your life. And so they can customize incentives around things that actually matter to you. Same with HR, they can customize benefits and recognition programs. And so what we do is find out what the company cares about and what the individual cares about. We try to go like this, and that magic, that intrinsic motivation is in that middle. It's where we can help both sides realize what they want transparently out of the relationship and help both sides get what they want. So let's just say that a sales rep is like, my big dream is to launch a food truck. I want to launch my own food truck business in 2 years. Well, yeah, we know that they're going to leave the company in 2 years, but who cares? Like, this is one stop in a journey. Why don't we find out what they actually want to accomplish, and then help them do inspired work for the next 2 years to help them get on their next step of the journey while they're helping you as a business. So that's kind of what I'm after, is like, how do we create that transparency?
Wow. And I would imagine there's, certainly, things that cost money, the food truck or bonus or the New Zealand trip or kind of whatever, things like that. But I would imagine a lot of the time there are things that really don't cost any more money, which might be, geez, I did a great job. I like this recognition. I think there's this area of the company that's effed up and I want to go help it. Hey, I want to be home to be able to do dinner with my family 3 nights a week. So there's probably some things that are non-cash centric that companies can do as well that people may not be otherwise aware of, right?
You hit it right on the head. I mean, some people, when we help them, and we do these one-on-one inspiration sessions, and sometimes we do group sessions, but we really try to help them and surface what really matters. And so if we find someone, let's just say that they're working their butt off, but they've got like a 15-year-old at home, we're gonna be like, dude, your 15-year-old's gonna be out of the house in 3 years and it's gonna go by this fast. What are you doing to create memories with your 15-year-old before they're gone? You're gonna regret the rest of your life. And so we stop people in their tracks and help them kind of like recenter on what matters. And, we have a whole framework that we take people through called Feel Happier. And but we help people kind of stop and figure out what matters. And a lot of times you're right. Like Randy, a lot of times those goals don't really cost a lot of money. It's like someone saying, I'm really horrible at playing date nights with my husband or my wife or whatever. And, I need to make sure that I focus on that. Well, it's not going to cost a lot of money to do a date night, but maybe the company can see that you have that goal and they're the ones that say, hey, we're going to fund your date night for the rest of the year. Take your, make sure you have that on the calendar, and maybe your manager is the one that's going to hold you accountable to make sure you're actually doing it. There's a lot of things.
Or once a month or something like that, right?
Whatever, right. But you're right. A lot of times it's not necessarily a lot of money. Like for me, I use the 15-year-old example because that's what I was thinking about. And I realized that what's something that me and my son could bond over. And I found out that he's always wanted to learn guitar. I didn't know that. I've always wanted to learn guitar. We did it together. So we bought this app. It was super cheap. And we just are learning guitar, through this app, same songs and stuff like that. It's kind of fun.
Oh, awesome. So are you far enough along that you actually know kind of what your ICP is? Because I would imagine on one hand, it could be CROs and sales leaders that want to take care of their teams, but a lot of times this is kind of housed under HR. Kind of how are you looking at it?
Yeah. Great question. We definitely want everybody that has a job to have a Worklife account that they carry with them through their career that's in their tool belt. And so that when you go to a new company, I can go to them and say, hey, you just hired Sarah. We've known her for 5 years. We know everything about Sarah. Why don't you help me help you help her? And they link up to her public Worklife goals so you can actually know what she cares about. And then her private goals, she keeps private. But one of the things that we decided to do was HR is really hard to sell into. Like, it takes them forever to make decisions. They don't have a lot of budget a lot of times. It's a very competitive space. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, why don't we just start with sales teams? Like, they're always having to come up with the next spiff or incentive. Why don't we help them get away from this coin operated mentality, which is always about cash and gift cards and swag and stuff, and help them actually incentivize people with things that they actually care about in their life. And then, arm them, empower them to be able to know what that is and to help them get further along. So we realized that that's going to be our go-to-market strategies. We're going to start with sales teams. That's our beachhead strategy. And then we're going to expand into HR, because we do link up to like their HRIS system and the payroll, so that you can do like a 401k match almost for things that you care about, for, different types of programs and things. So that is our go-to-market, is starting with sales.
Wow, that's great. There's another angle here, thinking about spiffs, where a lot of the technology companies, vendors, have an indirect, they have a direct motion where they do direct selling, but a lot of them will have, indirect and through channel partners. And they're always trying to figure out what are ways that they can spiff. A lot of times it'll just be cash, or you sell this and you get this much cash, or you can go into a hat and we'll have you go on a trip. But, this would also be another really interesting, cool thing, where some able to get leverage from somebody else's sales force as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, in a future world, I see everybody having a Worklife account the same way you'd have a LinkedIn account. This is like your LinkedIn for your personal life, though. And if you're like, hey, so-and-so partner of ours or channel partner is really been helping us, or we'd want them to help us, go look into the Worklife account and see what they're working towards. And then, we're going to have unlock the ability for peer-to-peer. So if you're like, oh my gosh, they have this New Zealand trip they've been planning for 5 years and they're only $1,000 away from hitting that, go finish their goal off for them. Be like, hey, just go New Zealand. We're making that happen. Thank you. It's meaningful appreciation. It doesn't really matter. The money isn't the important thing here. It's about recognizing and helping people get further faster towards things that they actually care about. And it's just different. If you give a rep $5,000 and say, hey, go work nights and weekends for us for the end of Q4 and help us hit this number, versus hey, New Zealand, I see you got this trip. If you help us, it's going to be nights and weekends for the next few weeks, but we're going to take care of your trip. I talked to the CEO, New Zealand's done. We're paying $15,000. It's happening. And even though, and then when that rep goes home to, their plus one or, their significant other, they're saying, hey, this is what the company offered, say it's your wife, she's going to say well, go make that happen. I got the kids, I got everything taken care of. Now when you're getting home late at night, she's not pissed at you because she knows that you're going to make it up and then some, because you guys are going to New Zealand. So it just makes it way better. And now you have a rep that's actually cares about hitting their accelerator and making that a reality. And it's just different than giving someone $10,000. Here's $10,000 if you go work nights and weekends for us. If they've already made $200,000, there's a point of diminishing returns where throwing more money at someone is not going to get them to try to work harder.
Absolutely. Especially, I always find over the years, sales can be more coin operated, kind of financially driven. And obviously there's a lot of ways that they're not, but a lot of times the vital pre-sales people are ones, they care less about the money side. It's more about kind of what are the intangibles, what's the training, what's the enablement kind of tools, kind of some things like that, which, similar, pretty low cost. So tell us, what about, you mentioned kind of briefly this inspiration session. What's that?
Yeah, I found out very quickly that, even though we want to build software that's going to be the best in the world at helping you surface, discover, and accomplish what you want to do in your life, there's a human component that's got to be there for accountability reasons, similar to my guy that was call your sisters, plan that trip, put on the calendar. He held me accountable to do it and followed up with me. And so we realized that we need to do the same thing. And one of the things we realized was that it probably is not going to work if it's coming from inside the company. If it's your manager that's using Worklife and trying to be your accountability partner, they have a responsibility to the company, and helping the company do what they need to do. So we realized it needs to be a third party. It needs to be someone, we call them your tapestry consultants. And so when I use the word tapestry, it's a combination of the word happiness and tapestry. So think of your vision board for your life that's going to directly improve your happiness. That's what we do, is try to help you create your personal happiness equation, which changes over time, because what made you happy 5 years ago is totally different than what makes you happy today. And so it's a moving target. You got to stay on top of it. That's what our software is going to do. But what we want to do is have consultants that would be like your person that you meet with once a month. And all they do is they're like your dream manager. They're the ones that are like helping you kind of surface what matters and making sure you're making progress towards those things. And then have your company pay for that person. Like maybe it's a matching component where it's like, hey, if you put $1 in, we'll put in 4. This is the company talking towards your Tapestry consultant. And so you've got this person that's with you through your whole career as well. And then they're helping you, like like you mentioned, career pathing or whatever. It's like, hey, I really want to be a CRO. What do I need to do to get there? And it's like, oh, well, hey, here's this program over here. You can actually use your work-life balance. We've got a way to be able to get you like mentors and coaches, and the company will pay for, we'll pay for $4 out of the $5 to get you your coach you need or whatever. So lots of different ways you can do it.
Yeah. I mean, I would think it'd be a practical way would be just a manager with his team, his or her team. So she could then say, okay, hey team, I want to, get better engaged, understanding important to you. Obviously, as you said, there's going to be some private things not to touch, but kind of a bunch of other things, especially in today's goofy world with Zooms and people not really getting back into the office. That could be really great exercise too from any manager doing that with their team, right?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like managers are failing at an epic level, right? Like I'd say 9 out of 10 managers suck because they don't ever surface what matters to the people, like, and nor do they have any ability to help them. And so, I envision kind of a world in the future where, your one-on-ones is all about that individual. Like, hey, what are you trying to accomplish? You're like, what do you want to do? How can I help you? And then it's like, instead of being disingenuous and not really having any ways to help them, you have Worklyfe and you're able to say, well, hey, will you do me a favor? Make sure you put that in your Worklyfe so that your managers, everybody can see that's what you're working towards. And not only us as your managers, but your coworkers, your peers could all pitch in and help you. Look, write this book you've always wanted to write. Like, let's get that done. Let's make that happen before the end of the year. It's going to cost 10 grand to self-publish it. Like, done. Let's make that happen. And so now this person's like, holy crap, like I'm actually going to go accomplish this thing that I've always wanted to do. And my company's helping me.
Wow, that's amazing. What about, is there a PLG motion here for you where you can kind of give the kind of, I'll say the tool out to, individuals, and then they could kind of share it amongst them or share it with their, with their manager, and then you try and do an upsell ELA?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why I kind of say we're a B2C to B. Even though we started off B2B, it really is hyper-focused on the individual and arming them with Worklyfe so that they have that with them. And, and then when they go get hired on by, let's say, Qualtrics or something, I can go to Qualtrics and say, hey, you got like 5 people with Worklyfe accounts. Like, why don't you connect up to their accounts and help them build incentives around things they actually care about? And so then they pay us the $5 per employee per month. And then that's our PLG. And, if a rep had like their company supporting them with like a company match or other things with Worklyfe at their previous company, and now they go to the new one, well, the first thing they're going to do is go to their managers and raise their hand and say, hey, like, why don't you help me with my Worklyfe goals?
Yeah.
So we're going to give free Worklyfe accounts to individuals.